Hello, and welcome back to another Dokkan battle video. So last night I got inspired to make another Dokkan Fest concept card, and again, typically from the homie phone, he gives me all the goddamn suggestions for concepts that I make. So I put out this tweet saying that a new Dokkan Festival is coming soon, with the teaser of who we're going to be talking about today with the concept card that I have made. So, getting right on into things here, right? I have made a DOKKANFEST Super Baby 2. Now, as you can very clearly see, this is not just this is not Super Baby 2 Great Ape. This is Super Baby 2 just straight up. And funny enough, right? When I was looking at the baby cards, it really does make you think about how neglected this villain is. This is a major series villain, the first main villain of Dragon Ball GT, and he has one premium card and a banner unit. You know how wild that is, right? This guy is horribly neglected. So I decided to make a Super Baby 2 card. That way you can still kind of link him up with either the LR Super Baby 2 Giant Ape or the Int one if he ever does Easy A. And I based a lot of his stuff around the current Dokkan Fests. So when we get into this, I'll bring up his leader skill here in a second. But when we get into this card, right, I just want you to remember that I based a lot of this off of the power of certain characters. And I wanted it to be basically the savior of the extreme class, because I want this guy to be the equivalent of an extreme class Vegeta. I guess technically Vegeta is extreme class, the Super Saiyan Big Bang Vegeta. But realistically, that's a super class unit that's just actually extreme in disguise, right? So this guy is the extreme class character. Throw him on any single one of your extreme class teams and you will completely solo it. He will hard carry all of them. His team here, right? His leader skill. Inhuman Deeds, GT bosses are artificial life forms, category Key plus 3, HP attack and defense 170, plus an additional HP attack and defense 30% for characters who also belong to the Space Traveling Warriors transformation boost our target Goku. I think in this day and age, we should not be dealing with category leaders who are only doing 2 leader skills. There's so many categories in the game right now that it doesn't make sense for us to limit our units, especially if they're characters like Baby who have just a billion goddamn teams. It only makes sense realistically to give them a bunch of these teams, right? So let's go ahead and let's slot these in here. Space Traveling Wars. And what was the other one I gave him? Right, it was Target Goku. Cool. This is, I put this on Twitter also. His team that his actual 200% lead. His team itself is better than what the 200% lead is going to show, because obviously not every single character on that team is going to be on the 200% lead. But I wanted this to be mainly a villain-centered focused team, so that's why I only gave the 200% to villain characters. As you can already kind of see, it isn't looking very good just off this top part. This is where all your most recent characters are. But when we go and we start talking about what Baby is doing, you're going to start to see that it's really not that bad, because this is a team, since this is a GT boss character, where you're going to be able to use Omega, because you're going to have 2 of them, right? And then, more than likely, if we were to get a Dokkan Fest Baby, we would get a banner unit that would hopefully be a GT bosses, as well as a couple ECAs. So don't worry about it too much. This is a team where you can actually use Omega Shenron. And then, of course, you also have the new Fat Boo, who's really strong. You got Frieza, who can be really, really good as long as he has a decent partner. This guy only really works with super boss characters, so he's not going to really work here. But maybe you can find a way to make that happen. And then you have a couple of the EZA characters down here, like Exchange Boo, Mr. Boo. I mean, he's a super class character, but still. And then you have a bunch of super EZA options, right? So this team, while it does kind of look a bit lackluster, once we start talking about what I designed this baby to do, you will start to see how this is kind of going to work around and make it kind of work. So for starters, the super attack. It greatly stacks attack and then raises defense for 3 turns. So that is 50% attack stacking and 30% defense for 3 turns, right? He causes immense damage to enemy like every single other Dokkan Fest character does, and then he lowers attack and defense. So essentially, in a lot of these fights right now, you're gonna be able to stack up a lot of stats. There's a couple of really, really long fights. Gogeta's a long fight. You have both of the the Gohan and Piccolo fight, the Gamma fight, right? Those are some legitimately kind of long fights. The new Super Boo fight, where you go through all the Boo absorption phases, right? There's a couple really, really long fights in the game, so you're gonna be able to stack up quite a bit of attack. And since he is raising his defense by 30% for 3 turns. If you're on rotation, he's going to be able to get a pretty decently high defensive number. His passive skill here, he plays an entrance animation when the character appears. For 4 turns, launches an additional super attack, and extreme class allies get ki +2 and attack and defense 30%. So essentially, I just made it a better version of what Turles' leader's entrance animation was from last year, however, without a condition. Because I thought about giving it a condition, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want this guy to be annoying to play with. I want him to just be able to be tossed on every single extreme class setup and to work well. That was my goal with this, and I think I kind of did that here. So after his intro, remember that lasts for 4 turns. You get 4 turns of support and 4 turns of an additional super attack. So you get 2 basically rotations of getting that additional super attack. So he gets ki +3 and attack and defense 200%. He gets an additional attack and defense 100% when launching a super attack. When all allies participating in the attack are extreme class, so that is the specific rotation, right? So, and whatever rotation he's on, if every single unit is an extreme class character, he gets guard, an additional super attack, and 40% damage reduction. So he's able to be slapped into slot 1 now pretty comfortably if you have that full extreme class rotation. He gives extreme class allies 2 ki and 50% support. He creates his domain, which is Planet Plant, which is that like planet that he uses the Dragon Balls to bring back, which was like what Planet Vegeta originally was before they got colonized, right? And he does that after performing 4 super attacks in battle, and it'll last for 5 turns. While his domain, Planet Plant, is active, extreme class allies get 10% damage reduction, and he will randomly change a certain type of orb to a rainbow. So he is an incredibly basic card, but already what we have in here is this is a character, right, who's able to do a lot of damage via these attack stacks, who's able to do up to 4 super attacks within a turn, right, especially if you have your intro up. He's giving, for 4 turns, 80% support to the entire rotation and ki, right? So he has like this massive ability to bump up extreme class characters, and then once he does do those 4 super attacks, which remember, 2 of them are guaranteed to happen, right? So on turn 1, what you can do is you'll do your main super attack, you'll do the super attack from his intro, and then he'll do a super attack if your entire rotation is extreme class, and then all you have to do is hit that hidden potential system super attack, and he will pop his domain on his next turn, right? I think that just works really, really well, and you'll be able to have that up almost immediately, and then you're going to have a second baby who's probably already going to have that condition filled by the time this runs out, so you'll be able to enter in the domain again, right? Which gives your entire team 10% damage reduction and gives you orb changing. This is incredibly helpful for someone like Omega Shenron, who, remember, he only orb changes at the beginning of the fights, right? So when you have these 10 full turns of baby domain, you're going to be still able to give Omega Shenron enough rainbow orbs to get his damage reduction while giving him an extra 10% damage reduction on top of what he already has, which just makes him even that much more tankier. Now, that's not the domain effect. The domain effect Planet Plant, right? What it actually does is it gives extreme class enemies and allies inside of the domain 20% attack and defense. So you're already giving more support to your entire team. You're up to 100% support for extreme class in those first 4 turns. Then, he also increases the damage received of superclass enemies and allies by 20% within the domain. So essentially, when you have this Planet Plant like domain active, your entire team is just juiced to the max. Now, there's been a lot of domains recently that tend not to give like a lot of buffs, but since I'm making it kind of general, I wanted the buffs to be more general. So essentially, that's kind of like the thought process I went with. I think realistically, if they were going to balance this as like a unit, then both of these would be dropped down to like 10%, right? Because domain effects tend to be around 20 to 30%, and this is, realistically speaking, it's like you have 20% attack and defense multiplicative from that, and then you have 20% superclass damage inflicted, which is at the very end of the calculations. So it's a little bit more than 30%, but you know, it is what it is. I think I spelled assault here. Yeah. So that's just how I thought about things. Also, this Revenge Final Flash is, you know, that big purple beam that he shoots off. I just want to point that out. His active skill here, right? Great Ape Assault. If you don't know what this is his level 3 from Dragon Ball Fighters, where he, like, you know, hits you with the Blutz Wave and then turns into a giant ape and then hits you with a Revenge Final Flash in Great Ape form. That's what this is, right? His active skill can be activated when his domain is active once only. So remember, this can trigger on different baby domains, kind of like what Future Gohan does. He massively raises his attack temporarily, causes ultimate damage, does an action break, and then his attacks become critical hits for the rest of the combat. So what you can basically do here, right, is you don't really have to worry about giving this guy crit, because after you pop that active skill, he's going to be critting. I liked how they gave that to Topo, and I think it makes sense to give it to more characters, just because I feel like it works really, really well, especially for characters who are super attacking a bunch and don't have built-in crit to their regular passive. You can go and you can build his hidden potential system more around either dodge, if you want to focus on his more defensive utilities, or additional to guarantee that you're going to get that 4th super attack on that first turn to get his domain active faster, right? Obviously, you can hold off on using this until the end of your domain. That way, it'll actually do more damage because you are stacking attack the entire time. So I think there's definitely like reasons to play around this and kind of do different things. And it gives an action break, so you have that in your back pocket as well. His links: Thirst for Conquest, GT, Big Bad Bosses, Metamorphosis, Hatred of Sands, Fear and Faith, and Fierce Battle. He essentially just has your regular baby link set. This is actually one of the few babies that has Fierce Battle, because, again, the only other one in the entire game that has Fierce Battle is the tech one, and all the babies that don't have, like, legendary power, like all the regular babies, Super Baby 2, Giant Ape, and this baby, for some reason, they give them Coward, but I felt like giving him Coward would be kind of trash, so I gave him Fear and Faith instead. That way he would link better with Omega, right? So he shares, I believe, this is like 4 or 5 links with Omega Shenron, the LR, and then he'll share the majority of his links with other baby characters. And then he is on all your typical baby teams, except the fact that this guy is not on Giant, because he doesn't actually turn into the Great Ape for like a turn. He just has it in his active skill. And then he has Power of Wishes, because the domain... the way the domain would work is it is him using the Black Star Dragon Balls to bring back his former planet. So that's why he is on Power of Wishes. Besides that, he is on every single other regular baby team. I think this came out a lot better than I was expecting it to. And remember back, I wanted this to be the savior of the Extreme Class team to help glue a lot of these teams together. So you're getting a lot of key just all around from his support effects. That way you're not running into those weird link issues, like when you have your Cells and your Friezas and your Boos and your Omegas, right? They have different links that make it so that you're kind of struggling for key if you're running too many different kinds of villains. So he's going to be alleviating a lot of that key problem by not only Rainbow Orb changing, but by giving them key itself, right? And then you have characters like Omega, like Super 17, right? And I believe Dodoria has damage reduction as well, right? Does he not? Or he just have guard when there's a Frieza? Yeah, he just has a guard. But he's just going to make like these like other characters who are like just on like the cusp of being tanky enough to do things that much extra tankier with that little bit of damage reduction support. And remember that since you have 2 babies, every single baby, like every single turn, you're going to have that 10% up if you have them on opposite turns, right? So you're going to be able to have that little bit of extra damage reduction, and it's going to make a difference for so many of these characters. You might even get some use out of 13. You might get some use out of, like, this guy. I mean, he has damage reduction, right? These units become practically invincible, right? The super easy A characters and Kid Buu become a little bit tankier. Just because their stats are so high, it's got extra little bit of damage reduction will be helpful to them. I think that this came out really, really well. I'm really happy about this. If you guys have any suggestions of things that you think would be changed or at all, I'm more than happy to hear your suggestions in the comments down below. I just feel that like balance doesn't really have a place in single player gacha games. I want my cards to be broken and better than the last cards. I want that to happen. This is a single player game. Let me sandbox and make fun teams. That is the entire point of this baby, right? To glue together extreme class characters and make them better and runnable and viable in the current meta. That is what this is for, because so many of these extreme class characters, like Frieza, like Omega Shenron, like the Boos, I mean, not really the Boos because they work so well together, but like those kind of characters needed that little bit of extra tankiness in them to be able to like actually eat some of this like abuse that a lot of these cards are dishing out right now. So that is the entire point of this baby. Do let me know if you like this baby. If you would summon for him in the comments down below, do let me know. That's pretty much it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.